Assalamu alaikum everyone. Wishing you a very blessed Ramzan. So as you know, today we are having a economics class. So I'm Muhammad Shehroz, and today we are going to discuss about the different forces that abuse the market power. So let's move towards the board. In a previous class, we have discussed about the market failure. So today we are going to see the abuse of market power. Abuse of market power. You know, as we have discussed in a previous class, when the market forces are, are unable to produce the goods according to the consumer's demand, we can say that it is a market failure. But we cannot let the market forces free. Yep. So, what will happen if we let them free, or if we let them operate whatever in a situation they want to do? So, the very first thing they can do, uh, they can charge us the high prices, charge the high prices for the services or the product. The second disadvantage, if the government doesn't make any intervention in the market forces, so what will happen? They will provide us a poor quantity or poor quality of the product. So we are paying more, but we are getting a low quality product. So by abuse of market power, we means that the producer is having more market power than consumer. The producer is having more market power than consumer. So there are two different situations in which the producer is having more power than the consumer. The very first situation is the monopoly. The monopoly. Many of you very much familiar with this term monopoly. It means a market structure characterized by a single seller and selling a unique product. A market structure characterized by a single seller selling a unique product. So we can say that there is a no close substitute of that product is available. The WAPDA, yes, the electric power company of Pakistan, yes. So they are having a monopoly. So what will they do? They charge as much as money they want to charge from us. Yes, the Sui Northern Gas, yes, the gas pipeline company and the gas supply company, they also charge the money as much as they want from us, because there is no close substitute of their product is available into the market. Yes, and they are having a monopoly. Yes. Okay. The second way through which the companies, if the government let the companies to operate as their own, they can abuse the market power by collation of big firms, by collation of the big firms, by collation of big firms, by collation of big firms. What will happen? These big firms collectively do the price fixing. All the firms are going to charge about the same price in the industry. Have you ever visited the electronic shop? Yes, you have seen the different brands like Haier, like Dolenz, like Pell, but you can find a very nominal difference between their prices, about the difference of 1,000 to 2,000 rupees. So why it is so? Because they are making the cartel in the Pakistan, and they have done the price fixing. So to overcome this scenario, the government takes some steps so that we can cope up this problem of monopoly or the price fixing by the big companies or the big fishes in the business world. So for this, the government promote the competition. The governments promote competition in the economy. All of you are very much obsessed of the new cars. Nowadays, there are many more car companies are going to be entering the Pakistan economy. But in the previous or the past years, we just have three companies. They are charging as much money as they want from the consumer. But nowadays, situation is changed. So the government is promoting the competition among the different car companies so that they can give a relief to its ultimate consumers. So to promote the competition, the government can do different techniques, or government can apply different techniques. The very first one is the removing restriction on entry of new firms. Removing a restriction on entry of new firms. Okay. Then the other way through which the government can promote the competition, by making a price fixing illegal. By making price fixing illegal. The third way through which the government can promote the competition is the stopping merging of new firms. Sometimes the government put ban on mergation or joint venture of some firms. So stopping merging of new firms. These are the efforts which are done by the government in industrial sector to promote the competition amongst the among the different businesses. But sometimes the government also do an other way to promote the competition in labor sector. So as we know, the resources like labor are immobile. Yes, so such sort of resources cannot go from one. They are usually geographically immobile. You cannot take a large amount of labor force from one area to a different area. So the government use different techniques to make these immobile resources, especially the labor, to make it mobile. The government have to take different steps, or the very first step which is taken by the government is to give the education. When we are having more educated people in the different areas of the country, so we can cope up the problem of mobility of the labor. Yes, then sometimes the government is providing the housing facilities to its capable person if they move from one area to other areas. Yes, sometimes the government also provide them the rent facilities for its capable people so that they can move in the area where the governments need them. Yes. Okay, so in those areas where there is a more demand for the labor, what will the government do? The government provide grants. Okay, to the firms so that they may change the land and the building. What will the government do in those areas where the labor is having in more demand? The government provide grants to the businesses so that they can give them better facilities, as well as for the immobility of the land, the government also provide them grants. Okay, so these are the different way through which the mobility of resources can be changed into the mobility of the resources. As we know, in a market economy, usually the forces of the demand and supply are intervening. So what will happen? The firms only just go for their private benefits. They do not go for the external benefit or the long-term benefit of the country. So there is different situations that are going to happen. The very first term or the first situation is the short-termism. Short-termism. So what is meant by short-termism? Short-termism refers to an excessive focus on a short-term result at the expense of the long-term interest. Focus on a short-term result at the expense of long-term interest. So we can say that in a short-termism, the government just so we can say that in a short-termism, the firms just focuses on their private benefits. So what will happen in a short-termism? The firms just focuses on the private benefit of it, and they do not produce the capital goods for the country. The capital goods. So another situation is happening while if we let the market forces to play free in the economy, so there is the unfairness. Unfairness. So we can say that there's an unequal distribution of income. Unfairness means here the unequal distribution of income between the different peoples. So the firms just produce goods, they can charge much money for the goods. So they only produce goods for which they can charge much. So we can say that they are not going to produce any goods which is needed by the poor. Goods are not produced which is needed by the poor. Goods are not produced which are needed by the poor. Okay. Then the situation becomes worst when the government fails. What happens? We termed it as the government failure. In this situation, the government do intervention, but what happens? The situation become more worse than before. So this is known as the government failure. The government do intervention, but situations becomes more worse.